This video is going to contain sensitive topics. Did you know that a ship carrying about 750 people capsized off the coast of Greece? Actually, you know what? That doesn't matter. What's important right now is that a sub carrying 5 people went missing. This is SIMBIB with the latest. Hello folks, welcome to Stuff I Make Because I'm Bored. I'm your host Sin, and today I wanted to talk to you about the Titan, a submersible created by a company called OceanGate that went missing on June 18th of 2023 carrying 5 passengers. You've probably seen the memes and the jokes. After all, it was carrying a billionaire who paid $250,000 to be there, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Who created the Titan, and what happened to it? Let's talk. The Titan was a submersible created by OceanGate, a company created by Stockton Rush and Guillermo Stollenheim in 2009. They specialize by providing tours in submersibles off the coast of California, the Gulf of Mexico, and in the Atlantic Ocean, specifically for tourism, industry, research, and exploration. Their tagline was, "Open the oceans for all humanity." The OceanGate's first sub, the Antipodes? I'm gonna go with Antipodes, was made in 1973. It changed hands several times, has received updates from the prior owners until it was eventually sold to OceanGate in 2009. It is currently in use mostly for shallow dives to survey coral reefs and such. Their second sub was the Cyclops 1. It was the first sub that was made by OceanGate and was made in collaboration with the University of Washington's Applied Physics Lab and Boeing. Yes, that Boeing, of airplane fame. Unveiled in March 2015, it is a 5-person sub controlled by a modified PlayStation controller and has a battery life of approximately 8 hours. It has been used for wreck exploration and for research and has a maximum depth of 500 meters. Their third sub is the infamous Titan. It was intended to have a maximum depth of 4,000 meters. It was first unveiled in 2018, and after several dives to its maximum depth, showed heavy fatigue on the hull, which was then replaced in 2021. In that same year, OceanGate started doing tourist runs to the wreck of the Titanic, completing several dives between 2021 and 2022. Let's talk a bit more about one of the founders of OceanGate, Stockton Rush. He was born to a wealthy family in California. As a child, he dreamt of being an astronaut. He earned his pilot license at 18, but was told he couldn't join the military due to vision impairments. Instead, he test flew jets and further built his fortune by investing in tech companies. He held a degree in aerospace engineering and later received a master's in business administration. He then turned his gaze to ocean exploration, making his first sub using blueprints he acquired from a retired US Navy sub commander. It could go about 30 meters. His core tenets can be summed up with these 2 great quotes, one from a podcast with the BBC in January 2023. You know, at some point safety is just pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, and don't do anything. At some point, you're just gonna have to take some risks. And it really is a risk-reward question. I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules. And the second choice quote from a 2019 blog post reads, "Bringing an outside entity up to speed on every innovation before it's put into real-world practice is anathema to rapid innovation." These quotes were likely in response to a 2018 letter that OceanGate received from the Marine Technology Society, stating that the safety protocols that OceanGate was using, which were not approved by any established organization, were not industry standard, and that OceanGate should, at minimum, do test dives with an industry specialist from the DNV, or the ABS, present, as they felt this was critical for the safety of the occupants of the sub. The DNV is, I'm going to butcher this name, Det Norsk Veritas, a company that specializes in reviewing the safety standards of marine vehicles, and ABS is the American Bureau of Shipping, another company that does the same. The same letter also said that while on paper the sub's design would meet or exceed their standards, it didn't appear like OceanGate had any intention of actually getting their sub, classified by the DNV, thus potentially misleading their customers. So that gives you a bit of history on the company and the stance of the CEO and co-founder. Let's talk a little bit more about the Titan. The Titan was comprised of an 11.4 thick carbon fiber hull surrounded by 2 titanium hemispheres. It had 4 electric thrusters, which moved the sub up to 5.6 kilometers per hour, and carried enough oxygen to provide air to 5 people for 96 hours, aka 4 days. In total, it was about 6.7 meters long, 2.5 meters tall, and had an exterior diameter of 1.68 meters. The titanium hull was bolted together from the exterior of the sub after the occupants were inside, leaving absolutely no way for people from the inside to leave the sub. The sub featured no onboard location system. GPS and radio signals do not work underwater. Instead, it used text messaging with the surface ship to figure out where it was and where it needed to go. And like the Cyclops 1, it was controlled using a modified game controller, a wireless one. In January 2018, David Lockridge, the OceanGate Director of Marine Operations, inspected the Titan and found that the hull had not been quality checked for imperfections, the carbon fiber hull specifically. The response to the safety testing of the hull by OceanGate was, "The sub contained a real-time acoustic monitoring system that would alert the crew inside if damage to the hull was imminent." You know, saying that out loud makes it sound like a video game, like if you've ever played Subnautica, you know exactly what I mean. A few days after his 2018 report, David also found that the 38-centimeter round window was only rated for 1,300 meters, a far cry from the 4,000 meters that the sub was supposed to be rated for. David stated that he would not allow crewed testing of the sub. David was then fired. In 2022, during a planned trip to the Titanic with a reporter, Stockton said that the Titan was built in collaboration with the University of Washington, NASA, and Boeing. This was in response to the reporter saying that the sub felt a little cobbled together. However, after the sub went missing, the University of Washington clarified that it had no involvement in the design, engineer, or testing of the Titan submersible. A Boeing spokesperson said that Boeing was not a partner on the Titan and did not design or build it. And a NASA spokesperson said that NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center had a Space Act agreement with OceanGate, but did not conduct any testing or manufacturing via its workforce or facilities. So it would appear to me that Rush was boasting about these partnerships in order to make him seem more legit. The sub was first tested by Rush himself in 2018, descending on a solo trip to 4,000 meters, being the second person to dive to 4,000 meters solo, the first being James Cameron. He needed to use the electric thrusters to push the sub down past 3,000 meters due to some unexpected buoyancy, which caused him to lose communication with the surface ship for 1 hour. This was a prior problem, apparently. Then in 2020/2021, with the ship showing signs of significant fatigue, the hull was replaced. Allegedly, the original carbon fiber was purchased at a significant discount from Boeing due to the product being past its shelf life, but Boeing denies this. After the hull was replaced, the sub was degraded to 3,000 meters, which, in my opinion, is a pretty significant cry from the Titanic, which lies at 3,800 meters. Then, 2023, June 18th, at 9:30 a.m., the Titan takes another dive to the Titanic, carrying Stockton Rush, 61, Pakistani-British philanthrope and businessman Shahzada Dawood, 48, his son, Suleiman Dawood, 19, British businessman Hamish Herding, 58, and former French Navy commander and director of underwater research for the Titanic, Paul-Henri Nargeolet. At 11:15 a.m., just under 2 hours after the dive began, communication was lost with the sub. Now, if you'll recall, this had happened before, so potentially this was because they were using the electric thrusters. That was the hope, anyway. No one bothered to alert the Coast Guard until 7:10 p.m. that same day, 2.5 hours after the sub was supposed to resurface. Then, from June 28th until June 22nd, the United States Coast Guard, the United States Navy, the Canadian Coast Guard, the Royal Canadian Air Force, and the United States National Air Guard conducted searches for the missing submarine. The search was particularly challenging, they said, due to the remote location, water, weather, and temperature conditions, and the lack of a distress signal, which most subs come equipped with, but the Titan did not have. Eventually, it came to light that the U.S. Navy detected a sonic boom consistent with a sudden implosion of a submersive vehicle, and on June 22nd, the U.S. Coast Guard declared that it had found a debris field consistent with the design and make of the Titan, about 500 meters off the bow of the Titanic. Thus, all occupants of the sub died instantaneously due to the rapid implosion. As of the making of this video, the cause of the implosion is still under the investigation, and this is my own personal guess, but I would assume it has something to do with the fact that the sub was not meant to go that deep down. So, what can we learn from this? I think the more important conversation to have right now is how the actions of one wealthy jackass, under the guise of being an entrepreneur, condemned 5 people to their untimely deaths by skirting safety protocols at basically every single opportunity. He sweet-talked his customers by claiming that his sub was built with the help of NASA and Boeing. He scammed them, and now he's dead, and so are 4 other people. But what can be done about this? Truly, I don't know. It sounds like at every single turn, OceanGate was warned about the safety standards of the sub, were offered guidance on how to be safer, and they laughed it off, or simply fired and then sued the people who tried to stop them. Maybe there needs to be more transparency from these kinds of companies. Maybe wealthy people should do more research. I know that I would if I was going to the Titanic. But I guess just because you've got a lot of money doesn't mean you have a lot of sense. Now, I'm no fan of multimillionaires and billionaires. I think that they are the equivalents of dragons hoarding wealth, but I'm also not really interested in defending or supporting the stance on whether it's ethical to meme on the deaths of 5 people at the hands of one arrogant company and their dipshit co-founder. I understand where it comes from. At least 4 out of 5 of these people were incredibly wealthy, but does that mean they're fair game to joke about? That's up to you. One of them was only 19, and he only went on this expedition because his father wanted him to. What I do find very interesting is the response from both Canada and the United States, both in terms of manpower to help search for the vessel and also media coverage in general. Because while the sub went missing on June 18th, on June 14th, 4 days prior, a ship estimated to be carrying around 750 migrants from Egypt, Syria, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Palestine sank off the coast of Greece. At least 82 people died. That's at least the bodies that they could recover. A Greek Coast Guard patrol ship sat by and watched it go down. As of recording, about 104 people have been rescued, none of which were wearing any kind of lifeguard vest. Hundreds more are still missing. I've included the links to 2 organizations, rescue.org and Alarm Phone, in the descriptions below. Please donate to help their rescue efforts of migrants if you're able to. All in all, it's depressing how this turned out. I really hope the Titan would be found. I guess there's some small solace in knowing that they died instantly and didn't sit there going crazy from lack of oxygen for 4 days. But it is sad. These people died for absolutely no reason. They died because one person's big, giant, dumbass head. And now they can't even be mad at him, because he's dead. Anyway, when did you first hear about the Titan? What are your thoughts on the memes and the jokes? And my more important question? Did you hear about the migrant shipwreck before or during all of this? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Simbib, stuff I make because I'm bored. Hundreds of migrants are lost in the sinking of a ship, but one tin can carrying 5 people goes missing and the whole world loses their minds.